Good evening. How are we doing? It is day 4 and it's also chilly out there today. Day 4 Q&A coming in. How are we doing? As ever, let's just keep meaning how we want to go on. What was your biggest win so far this week? Biggest win so far this week if you're coming in, as always. Loving the questions, by the way, and I keep saying this, but probably the best ever 5-day Kickstart so far. For seeing it through, for asking questions, being curious. I don't know what it is, but for me, it has been. Good evening, Joyce. Let me know your biggest win. Bridget, biggest win so far this week. Actually, today. Let's go today. Biggest win so far. I'm about to just invite a few people in. Good evening, Ali. How are we doing? Biggest win so far this week. Biggest win today. It's day 4 live, and we are ready to go. Bum bum. Okay, so day 4 Q&A here. Right. Okay. Right, let's rock on and roll. Okay. Good evening, Tina, Lucy, Lindsay, Karen. Let me know your biggest win so far today and this week. Biggest win today, no matter how small, how insignificant you think it is. Let me know your biggest win. You're here, still here. That's the key thing, right? Right. Okay. Fact of the day. Pineapple does minus your one of your 5 a day if you have it on pizza. There you go. Christine, win, class cardio followed by walk. Perfect, awesome work, Christine. Showing up, doing the work. Teresa, still no snacking, love it. Biggest win, being on day 4, completely engaged with the week, love it. It's the key thing, taking action. Well done. Evening, Carol, Bernadette, let me know your biggest win so far this week. Keep them coming in as I take a sip of my hot cocoa milk. Let's rock and roll. Great for a warm up. Right, let's get these questions. If you have any questions, do let me know. I'm going to get these questions up now and we will get cracking. Right. Double to protein, Carol, love it. No snacks, Ali, love it. Meals planned, stuck to it. Perfect. Good wins, 14,000 steps today and upped. Protein, good. We're doing the simple things, what I love. We're not doing stuff that's crazy, right? But you're seeing benefits from it, from taking action consistently. Because remember, everything takes longer than you want it to take and is harder than you want it to be, really. In the grand scheme, if you were to sum up just stuff, everything takes longer than you want it to take and everything's slightly harder than you want it to be. It's just life. Claire got vitamin D and magnesium, but we keep turning up and you keep going. Actually, you get those little wins along the way as long as you keep putting your attention on them. That's key. Good evening, Amy. Tina, done the exercise and walked 3 miles, trying to watch the carbs and drink more water. Good. And how are you watching the carbs? What are you doing to watch them? Is it portion? Is it type of carb? Is it considering fruit and starches in this as well? This is always the key thing. So let's get on with these questions. So let's get these up. Okay. Right. Okay. Let's have a look. Let me load these questions. Great. Question 1. Anne asks, best exercise to target menopause belly. So, it's interesting you say that, and with this, I can only look at the research on this, and what we really need to unfortunately consider here is that belly, stomach fat is the last place to go. And when you look at the research, what it seems to show is that menopause, postmenopause, perimenopause, going through menopause, one of the key things with this is that you just can't get away with as much in terms of deviation from your diet. You know, when people used to say, I could go off one day, or I could have a bit of that. And essentially, the research shows it's less forgiving. So overall, you probably need to be tighter with your calories, tighter with your exercise habits. If I wanted to target tummy, let's say I was like, yeah, but can you do it? You can't choose where you lose fat from. That's one thing. However, what you can do is spot enhance. And generally, I know this sounds odd, but I have a different take on, just doing sit-ups and things like that, but rather doing resistance exercise for your shoulders, for your legs. Every time you do that, you're sucking in your core, you're engaging your core, but you're also changing your body shape, right? Like people who are more shapely here on their glutes, you can appear to have a different body shape, which then appears different. And when we talk about belly fat, tummy fat, one of the key things in terms of changing body shape is resistance exercise. Because every time you do a resistance exercise, whether it's a squat, whether it's a row, what are you doing? You're engaging your core every time. So you've got to suck in your core to protect your back. So you're actually working your core non-stop on that, more so than you would do doing like a sit-up. Sit-up will work your tummy muscles, yeah, don't get me wrong, it'll work your abdominal muscles, the front, but it's not working the back, it's not working back here, it's not burning that many calories. And we want to get bang for our buck with our exercise, but also through nutrition as well. So in this, unfortunately, there's no I'd love to say, but I'd be lying if I said this 2 exercises aren't the best. I'd just be lying. So let's, rather than hope that I had an answer for that, because I'm not going to lie, I would say one of the key things you can do is go in with your calories, like maybe track calories for 2 to 4 weeks to get a good idea of where your calories are going, what's working, what's not working. Up your protein intake, because as we said this week so far, it's going to burn more calories through digestion and absorption. Do resistance exercise, it's going to help change your body shape as well. And this will gradually help with this, but it's not going to be easy and it will take time. Like I said at the start, actually, everything takes longer than before and everything is a little bit harder to move forward. But the results are always worth it. That's not many people get to it, but actually, when you keep going, when you get those thoughts in your head, oh, is it worth it? Actually, it's going to be hard anyway. So you might as well do the hard that gets you the results you want. So, unfortunately, the truth is kind of a bit more resistance exercise. Franco doing well with intermittent fasting. Perfect. Caroline Wynn, attending Cal's class this morning, keeping on top of the food plan. No snacks, more water. Nice. Got some 5% yogurt. 10 grams of protein, perfect. Farge, love it, on offer at the moment as well. Good evening, Karen. Let me know your biggest win. So, hey Rebecca, hey Elizabeth. So Naomi, what food supplements are best to aid short-term memory? Interesting. So in terms of if I was to give a research-based answer on this, it'd actually be caffeine. And I'd say actually eating meals. So when you look at the research, if I was to sum up the research for you, eating breakfast seems to improve cognitive performance in children most of the time. Not so much seen in adults, but caffeine improves cognitive performance, like short term, concentration, memory, etc., sharpness, energy levels. Obviously, you don't want to rely on it all day, every day. So I would look at, firstly, in terms of, it's difficult to kind of say this is going to work for sure, but if you were clutching at straws a little bit to try and piece something together and give you some practical advice, if you're not currently having set meals and it's just a bit sporadic and snacky, sometimes that's actually consuming for your mind as well. From a psychological, it's very chaotic, right? Just eating on the go. Your body's never having that set structure, set in time to plan your day. I'm going to do this then, I'm going to do that then. So you don't have to think about it, you just get up and do your day. It's going to be really key. Here's when I'm going to eat with the kids. Here's when I'm going to eat with them. Here's when I'm going to do this. Here's when I'm going to prep this. Sounds boring, but one thing I've learned over years of not doing it is that I'm actually worse performance-wise, cognitive-wise, everything-wise, if I just try and get stuff done, but I haven't actually planned it. I know I'm doing it. I could have lots to do, but it's in the diary at some point. It's going to pop up at some point. Yeah, I might not finish it, but it's going to pop up again. I know where I'm at. What's left over this week? Well, let's have a look at those things. Let's put them in the diary again for the week after. Hopefully I can get more done. What do I need to put off this week? Hey Ali, how we doing? As well as this, in terms of memory, omega-3 has a good benefit. Whether that's short-term memory is difficult to know, but omega-3 intake does have cognitive benefits, as well as heart health as well. So that's going to be key. Hey Debbie, how we doing? Let me know your biggest win so far this week. So I hope that can't tolerate any caffeine. Okay, so what you could do if you were looking for something a bit out there now, the research is controversial on there, but things like lion's mane, L-theanine can have potential benefits of that. Creatine as well does seem to have cognitive benefits. So yeah, lion's mane has some interesting research around that. So you could look at something like that. I'm not saying that it's a definite thing. There are a few other supplements around that claim to have that kind of benefit. But if you're not eating oily fish or taking omega-3, I'd go there first, to be honest. But lion's mane, potentially. There's some interesting studies around that very early, but doesn't seem to have any downsides. So you could look at that, and then creatine as well. B vitamin complex can help with energy and performance as well. So like vitamin B12, and quite often you'll see them put together. But is that all caffeine, or is that like just coffee and things like that? That would be good to know. And it'd be interesting to see how, if you had like L-theanine, say, and that can potentially help the come down for coffee as well. Cool. Biggest win, another gym workout. Good day. Exercises, tried a new evening meal, enjoyed, but it's come to a huge chocolate craving. Realised I just haven't eaten enough today. Yeah, that's maybe why the craving hit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you probably just had a craving because you didn't eat enough, or was it just there? If it's there, we want it more. So, and we're thinking about it. That's one of the issues as well. Folic acid, in terms of memory, I've not seen much on that, but yeah, could be something to look at. Sarah, how much protein should I be aiming for? What percentage protein, carbs and fats per day would be ideal? So protein, you want a minimum 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. So if you're a 100 kilogram person, that'll be 1.2 times 100, 120 grams per day. However, that's the minimum I'd recommend. So if you can shoot up towards 160, even better, like 1.6 grams per kilogram, even better. If you're working off of an app, food tracking app, and you're looking at percentages, it's still good to know that absolute measure. But if you want a real easy percentage-wise, I'd go 33% protein, 33% carbs, 33% fats. It's quite a nice blend. But ultimately, I would more so be worried about the protein and go, right, I'm going to get 33% of my calories from protein, then carbs and fats can make up whatever I fancy that day. That gives you that flexibility, because it doesn't really matter unless you're on like a zero fat diet, when, you know, if you're really low fat, you're not going to synthesize fat soluble vitamins like vitamin D. So you actually need good fats for that. But in general, it just gives you a bit more flexibility then. So I'd go 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram, 33% of your calories coming from protein, carbs and fats, as you like. Now, there is a bit of a caveat to that. If you're someone who runs a lot, has a real performance-based goals, then you might want to edge towards the carbohydrates a bit more. If you're someone who's like, I just need to lose weight, I've got pre-diabetes, etc., then you might want to keep your carbs a bit lower as well on the. But that's not absolute. Question about, do they do creatine capsules? Yes, they do. And yeah, it is easier to consume than the powder for sure. Do we have access to the group after Friday? I'd like to repeat that they are in our Fruity Fit group. So this group shuts, but if you are doing the 28-day Kickstart, which I was supposed to talk about yesterday, so if you are coming in with our Kickstart after this and joining our shift group, you will get access to all of the workouts in there, plus my Matt's Motivation group, where I send you a 10-minute workout every day and a song challenge and some good old fun stuff in the meantime. And that's sent to you each day as part of that plan. So as you are joining us in the 28-day Kickstart, Heather, yes, you do get access to it. So it's not in this group, but you still get access to it within Fruity Fit as well. So if you want more information, by the way, on our 28-day Kickstart, just message, comment, send me a message. That's absolutely fine. I will put a link somewhere around this as well, so you can have a look at that. Karen, how many calories should a woman aim for? I read somewhere women need 2,000 calories, but I don't think I could eat 2,000 calories a day unless it's cake and chocolate. So there's often like numbers put around. They're based on like averages. What I would say here is we need to look at you and have a starting place for you. So if you're tracking calories already, then you know where your maintenance is at, aka if you eat X calories and your weight stays the same, you know what your maintenance is. That'd be your maintenance. If, however, you start losing weight on those calories, that's a deficit for you. If you don't know where to start, go to fruityfit.com/how many calories do I need? And that will help you start with that. So there's a little calculator in there. I'll put a link to this as well, and I'll just show you what it looks like on here. So you should be able to see this here. So super simple, age, gender, weight, height, and then exercise level. I always say with this, go on the cautious side. So a lot of people go, oh, I'm extra active. But the problem with this is what this Harris Benedict calculator was done a while ago. Like it's research based, it's valid. However, as human beings, we rate how active we are higher than what research is done on. Like everyday people used to do 10,000 steps, right? Just easily, just through life. Like now we've got it a lot. Life is a lot more easy in terms of we don't, even from washing machines to dishwashers to things that make our life more convenient, to remote controls, you name it. We just don't move as much in general. So I always say err on the cautious side, and you'll get. So if you think you're like moderately active, go lightly active, just to go with that. That will give you a better, more accurate starting place. And then you can work off that. 2 to 4 weeks time, has your weight moved? Yes, no, then you work off that. Meant to ask, how do I download the task sheets you've been talking about each morning? They are in the task. So if you go to the task and go into the task in the blurb, if you want to call it blurb, description, there's a link in there, and then you can download them in there. So that should be all good. I think they now add folic acid to bread to assist preventing. They do add folic acid to flour, but that's not in. I don't know if they do that in the UK. Oh yes, they are in 2026. There's a big debate about that. They've kept that a bit quiet. So we're one of the only countries who don't do that, and it's to prevent neural tube defects, babies, or fetuses, if you like. And one of the arguments against it, well, one is like, do we all need it? We do have some calcium in flour, but one of the downsides is the potential for it to cause an overdose of folic acid in elderly. So that's just one thing. But the aim is obviously improving success of pregnancies, reducing neural tube defects as well. Yeah, which they think will then save the NHS money. It's interesting though, because it only ever applies to like white flour. I don't know what the whole thing about is there. Anyway, it's quite interesting. Like, so if you have like, I'm not saying do this, but if you have white bread, you get a little bit of calcium in there because it's fortified. If you have wholemeal bread, you don't have the calcium in there. It's just interesting, like policy, isn't it? Yeah. Best foods for resolving low blood sugar spells, which I'm also wondering if it's linked to fluctuation in hormones. Could be perimenopause. Currently, I'm eating around every 4 or so hours. I guess one thing I'd say with that, Sarah, is how do you know you're actually low blood sugar level, or are you just tired? Do you just get dips in the day naturally? Are you eating enough protein? Drink enough water? You go? Do you have a nap in the day? Do you sleep enough? Meditate in the day? Like sometimes I can shut my eyes for 5 minutes and then I'm good to go again. But taking that 5 minutes requires discipline. Cool. Are there any supplements I can help that might help with sleep? Alison, good question. So, number one, think about sleep hygiene before we talk about supplements. Is your room pitch black? Do you wear an eye mask? These are all things that I would genuinely consider. Do you have earplugs? Like, don't underestimate. Like, stick your fingers in your ear now. You can't hear me now, can you? Man, I can't hear you. Sounds good. Like, that can create something that not much can else create, like noise in your head, etc. Try something like meditation, not to get to sleep, just to help you relax. Avoid phone. Like, do not check your phone. Have your phone on silent. Do not disturb. Don't let it buzz. If your phone's buzzing, watch is buzzing, you've got no chance. If you're always connected, it's always going to be slightly on. These are a few tips from sleep researchers. If you sleep with someone who snores, get a divorce. No, don't get a divorce. Sleep in separate rooms. If it's really impacting your sleep, he says, it's really funny, like one of the researchers, Nick Littlehales, he always says, like, people say, yeah, but that can't be good for your relationship. He's like, no, actually, if you have a good night's sleep, you're actually willing to talk nicely to your other half rather than blame them for feeling tired all the time because they snore, which is interesting. But white noise can help a lot of people. When I go and pick up my son from nursery, all I can hear in the nursery is white noise. It's got like shh. Ever since we've had a baby, so for the last 8 years, I go to sleep with white noise on. It worked for the baby, and I was like, oh, I like this. I was like, relaxes me. Blackout blinds, make your room cool, cold, 18 degrees. There's some sleep hygiene tasks. Don't have caffeine after 2 p.m. In terms of supplements, ZMA, so you got zinc, magnesium, vitamin B, ZMA is a supplement that might help. Tryptophan, so protein again, like turkey, beans may help. Cherries has been shown to potentially help with that as well. We did do that with our first, actually. I used to put cherries, loads of cherries, melt them, like frozen cherries, melt them, like 4 of them, then put loads in with porridge and then feed her that, and that seemed to help. She struggled to sleep. And then things like ashwagandha may have a benefit as well. So they would be my go-tos for sleep. Phone always downstairs overnight. I usually don't have it after 7. Yeah, really key. Is that the same It's gluten-free bread, calcium in white bread. I believe so, yes, but I would have to check that actually. I'm gluten-free, so I don't tend to eat flour or grains. All good. I tend to feel headache, a bit shaky, a bit dizzy. Okay, so it might just be that you are hungry, and that's fine. So does that go away after a meal? So if it does, then that's all good. But yeah, probably might be worth structuring that time. Have a look at, is it always after you're feeling a certain way, you're tired, stressed as well? It could be elements in there as well. Let me just have a look. Let's have a look. I'll have a look actually and make a note of that. So, by the way, so gluten-free bread fortified is available, but it's not a mandatory. It's voluntary, so unlikely to have calcium in it. To be honest, you shouldn't really be looking for bread as your main source. It's more done that because this sounds really bad, but let's say someone's diet is really bland. They don't have a varied diet. At the very least, if someone just eats toast and nothing else, at the very least they're getting a little bit of calcium. So the idea here is, as a population, this might stop potentially some osteoporosis, osteopenia, some muscle break, some breaks, bone breaks, etc. I know that sounds like a sad way to put it, but that's kind of if you think about cost the NHS, etc., that will make a difference, right? So when are they putting creatine in our tap water? Anyway, I joke. Because on that note, Christine asks, is it safe to take creatine if you have a reduction in your kidney function? If you have kidney issues, I would always go and get it checked, because I would probably hypothesize and cautiously say no, I wouldn't, depending on the kidney disease, the level of it, because mainly because it may, some of the medication, if you are on medication, may interact with that. So yeah. So always, talk to a doctor first with that. Let me have a quick look. Anything else on here that I can? Okay. Oh, just to let you know, creatine doesn't cause kidney failure or renal disease, anything like that. This is more if someone's got kidney issues, adding something in like that, or adding anything in, you just want to be wary, because if your kidney's not working properly, then you want to consider that. Let's have a look. Okay. Let's have a look. Okay. Right. Next question. Oh, I've lost the questions. Hang on a minute. There we go. All good. All good, Jill. Good work. Getting the workout in. Love it. Alex, are there any good or lower calorie alternatives to olive oil? The only thing I'd say, like, fat is fat, so it's all oil is oil from a calorie point of view. Olive oil has lots of health benefits. It depends how you use it, I would say. If you use it for cooking, you could look at grilling, other practices like that, and then use the olive oil as like dressings, etc. Thinking about how much you use then might be the key element. Like, I like, some people use, say you put olive oil in a spray bottle, So they spray it on, they end up using less. So you get the olive oil in, but they use a bit less. We've all seen Jamie Oliver swirl it round like that, have like 500 calories in his of olive oil. Hazel, what are your thoughts on the Zoe diet? Question 1. In short, it's they did a very expensive study on it without saying the word Zoe, just simply because people have been sued for saying stuff and they seem to be hot on that. But they did a great study on glucose monitors, and what they found, and I can share the study in the comments as well. Personalized nutrition, there we go. It is 2023 study. Imprecision nutrition, duplicate meals result in unreliable individual glycemic responses measured by continuous glucose monitors. So this is in people without diabetes. So if you've got type 1 diabetes, I would say it can be useful. It is useful. If you haven't, it's not reliable, is what the research shows. So what they found was glucose spikes, if you like, are unreliable and unpredictable. And the responses in people vary similarly whether you eat the same meal or a different meal. So the responses you get can be different to the same meal or a different meal. So the difference between your glucose response to the same meal compared to a different meal, so if you have the same meal twice versus a different meal twice, the glucose response can be just as variable. And the point being is it's a bit random and a bit unreliable. So therefore, trying to provide personalized nutrition advice on this is actually very difficult to do. Now, that's not to say you can't do the Zoe diet and get great results, because let's face it, it will just pluck out a higher fiber food generally. And research shows that if an app tells you to eat beans, and then you're more likely to do it because it's said, and this is going to sound really bad, but this is it. Let's say you would normally hate beans, but it says based on your glucose response, you need to eat beans. You might just go, I'm going to have to eat beans. And then you eat beans instead of, I don't know, pasta. And all of a sudden you've increased your fiber, increased your protein, reduced your carbs, and then you lose weight. So that's just what the research shows on there. It's not my opinion on it. That's just what that shows. I think it's, in honesty, pretty good marketing, and I don't think it will end well. Things always come out in the end. Be interesting to see where that goes. Interesting is you've probably seen like a lot of Stephen Bartlett stuff on it. I know it's got a bit quiet over there as well, but interesting. I think in the future there'll be something there but at the moment it's just very unreliable. Let's have a look. Next question. Is castor oil good and eat as a supplement? I haven't really seen much benefit from it, to be honest. I'd probably say if I was going to choose olive oil over that. Is it okay to eat dried fruit, e.g. dates, prunes, as snack rather than chocolate, thinking about the sugar content? So with this, Joe, I always want you to think about what's the alternative here. Like, what would you normally have? And I wrote a little blog earlier today about honey, because someone asked about honey. And it's always like, what would you have and normally have? So if, for example, you're like, well, I'd normally have chocolate biscuits, now you have honey and some yogurt, well, that's a good switch. If, however, you're like, I have loads of honey in my yogurt, but I would never eat chocolate because that's bad for you. But then you're like binging a bit, you're not enjoying it. You could just from time to time have a little bit less honey and have the biscuit. So my point here is consider how much you eat, like it all the time, but that would generally be a good swap in terms of adding in some fiber, so that's fine. Tina, is a keto diet good? It can be good, there can be elements of that. One thing I'd always consider is, if we were in a big room now and I said, who's tried the keto diet before? Loads of people put their hands up. If you then say, okay, keep your hand in the air if you're still doing it, everyone's put their hand down. That's not to say you can't do it forever, but there's elements of it that people find really good. Their hunger is under control. Like a true keto diet is like 75% fat, 20% protein, 5% carbs. So very high fat, moderate protein, zero low carb. What you can do though is mix and match that and go, you know, I enjoy that way of eating, but when I can't eat that way, I'm just gonna lower my fats and increase my protein, increase my carbs and protein a little bit. So you have a flexible keto diet to help you achieve a calorie deficit. Because remember, the key principle of why it works is a calorie deficit. A lot of people just find it easier to stick to. But the problem is sticking to it long term. Social events, meals out, etc. can become hard to stick to. So you might just want to get that kind of blend right on there of thinking you got to stick to it originally to creating a diet for you. So it might be that Monday to Friday, you enjoy keto-based diet because easy, don't have to eat as many meals, your hunger's under control. And then at the weekend, you're eating out with family a bit more, social, you allow a bit more carbs, you lower your fat to help compensate with that. My friends and I go on a long bike ride, have a cafe stop, halfway point. What would you suggest is best to eat and drink for refuel? I usually opt for a latte and a cake. Depends on how long it is and stuff really, but I mean, if there's ever a time to get a cake, it's probably then. If you were trying to be like really optimal for performance, then, you know, some electrolytes, something sugary, jelly babies, because cake's actually quite high in fat as well. Not that that's a problem. If you digest a latte, fine, that's all good. Milk has electrolytes in, you've got some caffeine in there as well. If you were trying to be optimal there, I'd say like electrolytes, some sweets, something like that, dried fruit, figs, anything like that, not too much fiber though. It depends on your digestion as well. Really, in terms of like performance, the key thing is don't be hungry, get some carbs in, but don't upset your stomach. That's kind of the rule. So if you digest the cake well and the latte well, that aligns with your goals, all good. If you wanted to have something different, you know, banana, dried fruit, stuff like that, jelly babies, all good too. I'm pro jelly babies, so whenever I do something like that, that's long, bit different, challenging. Jen, protein shakes, pros and cons. Pros, quick, easy, get your protein in. Very filling, high quality protein, low calorie, cheap to get the protein in if you compare to like other protein sources like meat, eggs, etc. Also a good opportunity to get a lot of nutrients in. So if you're on the go and you need something quick and convenient, I can make my own protein shake, whey protein, frozen fruit, like, or banana, some milk, yogurt, peanut butter in there, even some frozen veggies in there, frozen spinach, something like that if I wanted to. That's quite a quick way of getting lots of nutrition in. Like, it doesn't have to be a shake with no fruit, veg in. You can make your own like that. The cons of it, if you then don't ever eat meals, liquid calories can sometimes make people not feel as full, but generally the caveat to this is that protein shakes are the caveat to it. So if you have like things like juice, orange juice, liquid, Coca-Cola, you know, fizzy drinks, diet aside, like sugar sweetened, they make people feel hungry. Whereas if people have whey, dairy, stuff like that, they actually fill people up. So protein shakes can definitely be used, quick, easy, convenient, cheap. Yeah, I definitely see them. They do have a place. What's the best diet, Sarah? Or exercise to help reduce belly fat, not help to have PCOS despite regular gym sessions. So being in a calorie deficit doesn't seem to shift. It will be like the last place to go. PCOS could change things a little bit. You could you may want to opt for more lower carb with PCOS, and also consider in terms of PCOS inositol, in terms of the supplement, may have benefits in terms of insulin sensitivity as well. Given that that's one of the main things, I would say a higher protein, lower carb approach would definitely probably have benefit on that. Recommendation food tracking app, which is not MyFitnessPal. I've seen ads for one which just uses a photo, and heard of one which uses voice notes, but don't know app names or if they work. Yeah, I have seen the photo one. Obviously the photo one is a bit like rough around the edges, but it does look very easy, which is all good. Lucy, I need to sign off. My 7-year-old's out of bed. Watch back later on. You're making me feel guilty there. My 7-year-old isn't actually in bed yet. I'm running late tonight, aren't I? There you go. But she is knackered. And probably may even be asleep. Anyway. Bridget, I was advised to give my arthritic dog green lipped muscle and we really see an improvement. Is this research based? Just gone on seeing is believing. Let me just have a look at that. I saw something about that the other day. Hang on. I save a lot of stuff. Yes, I did see a randomised controlled trial on that. I've got it. That's weird you asked that. Yeah, it was in postmenopausal women. That's why I looked at it. Obviously, I work with a lot of women, so that's what caught my eye. So they did look at this. So it's early research, don't get me wrong, but the initial research were in like rodents. So they did the first study, if you like, in women. They chose postmenopausal women who had knee pain, knee discomfort, and yeah, the results were that the pain decreased compared to placebo. That was the only benefit. So yeah, and yeah, it's an early study. Don't get me wrong. It's not like the best study either, but I mean, there could be something there, and actually, if it works and you're seeing benefit in arthritic pain, then I don't see a problem with that. It's early days, but yeah, I think yeah, it's funny you said that because I saw it the other day and I was like, what the hell is green lipped muscle extra? I was like, and then I saved that. So good question on the front end on that. But yeah, nothing wrong with that. If it's working and that allows you then to do more, that's all good. Next question. I think we're nearly there now, actually. Yeah, this is the last question I have on there. Is there such a thing as an anti-inflammatory diet or just healthy eating? Lots of free mode. What foods are good boosting immunity? So, what I'd say firstly, Naomi, the anti-inflammatory diet is generally like a Mediterranean diet, really, if you look into it. I think inflammation is also needed to an extent. Like, if you want to build muscle, you actually need inflammation. This is where it's very interesting. Like, if you completely go anti-inflammatory, you'll never really. You need inflammation to trigger certain responses in your body, and we know this from research. For example, they thought, right, if people get sore, that stops them training, right? So if we take anti-inflammatories, load them up with vitamin C, they can train more and build more muscle. But what they actually found was this blunted inflammatory response, therefore blunted the stress response needed in the muscle to build muscle. So it's why if your focus is like building muscle and you're looking to be optimal, having a cold shower or ice bath, say, actually decreases muscle building. It improves recovery, don't get me wrong, but it decreases the muscle recovery, the muscle building. that's just a bit of it on inflammatory. In terms of like diet, yeah, fruit, vegetables, but saying that, some of them could be causing inflammation in some people. So, some people too much fiber, foods that ferment can cause IBS. That then triggers some inflammation for them in their gut, for a variety of mechanisms in there, which can then be an issue for them. So there's no real such thing as a set anti-inflammatory diet, but I would say, if you look at the research on the Mediterranean diet, and I know this is different, people often say, like, what is a Mediterranean diet? And that is a key question, but generally, this is generally speaking, lots of fruit, lots of veg, pulses, beans, some red meat, lots of fish, oils, minimal processed food, all good. Saying that, again, it does depend on people's conditions. Someone has arthritis and they're like, I eat a Mediterranean diet, loads of tomatoes. It could be that the tomatoes are actually triggering some inflammation. So, because we know this from research as well in arthritis, which is quite interesting. Anyway, that is all the questions I have had today. That was a good one again. Lots of good questions. As ever, if you have any questions, do let me know. If you watched on replay, do let me know. We've got one more day to go. Crazy how quick time flies. Before you know it, it'll be summer. Felt light tonight. Anyone else like that? Anyway, have a lovely evening. We are back on one last time tomorrow. Let's put this plan in together so we leave this week with a plan. So if you can make it in tomorrow night, that's key, because I really want you to end it on a high. Any questions, make the most of it. Workout in. Let's rock and roll. And I will see you later. Keep that momentum going. Any questions, let me know. And I'll see you